The U.S., with just about every other Western nation, had a strong reprimand for the MK visit to the Temple Mount just this week. But what's going on behind the scenes? The U.S., along with the rest of the West, is falling into the Muslim trap of one, demonizing Israel, and two, this is exactly what the Arab world wants, to weaken Israel. The West has fallen for it. Now, altogether, the West, with the whole of the Arab world, agrees to strip Israel of its spiritual and biblical connection to the land of Israel. One, Jews should not pray at the location of the former temples. Jews must not be allowed to live in the biblical areas of Judea and Samaria. Again, this area renamed the West Bank in order to do what? Erase the biblical connection. That's right, the world wants to erase it. But wait, isn't this the real purpose of the people of Israel? To bring spiritual light to the world? Really, if you break it down, this sounds like a massive clash coming. Guys, we'll break it down now. I'm Joshua, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome back to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Guys, diving straight into the big clash. The big clash is well, you could just say a man plan versus God plan. You could say spiritual plan versus a very physical realities of what's going on, war. But what's at the baseline of all of this in the Middle East is very spiritual. The West has obviously made the mistake countless times to trying to take away the spiritual reality that is at play here. Muslims taking the Temple Mount and ruling spiritually over the Temple Mount is at the baseline of the whole conflict. To miss that point is to lead the Western world completely astray. That is the big point. Along with this going astray, we saw here a quote from the United States. Anthony Blinken, he says, the United States strongly opposes Israeli Minister of National Security Itamar Ben-Gvir's visit to and he uses the Arab along with the Jewish name of the Temple Mount, Haram al-Sharif, Temple Mount on August 13th, which demonstrates blatant disregard for the historic status quo with respect to the holy sites in Jerusalem. He continues, the provocative actions only exacerbate tensions at the pivotal moment when all focus should be on the ongoing diplomatic efforts to achieve a ceasefire agreement and secure the release of hostages and create the conditions for broader regional stability. I'll stop there. Now, what is he missing? Once again, sounds politically correct. Guys, let's focus on the big issue. But he's missing the point of what the big issue is. For the Arabs, and we'll get into it in a little bit, the big issue is the holy site. And that's also true for the Jewish nation at its core. This religious Ben-Gvir, the member of Knesset, Ben-Gvir, understands this baseline element that the big issue centers on the Temple Mount. Now, the misunderstanding of this by the West calls this blatant disregard and disrespect for the holy site. Okay, now he's missing the point. This is the big miss of the West. To miss this point again is tragic for the West. He continues later on in his quote to say that this hurts the steps that will bring about peace and stability and undermines Israel's security. Now, these are all big issues, and at the brunt of it, if you miss this point, you would say that this undermines Israel's security, but it does not. Far from it, actually. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But first, we're going to look a little bit deeper into the Muslim side of things. We're going to look at this video here where Muslims actually take what Blinken said, Secretary of State, and actually he's taken it a step further. So Secretary of State Blinken doesn't agree that Jews should have spiritual rights on the Temple Mount, the place of Jewish, the birth of Jewish, the spiritual connection, really, like historically, biblically. The Jewish people are so connected to that Temple Mount. It's where the place of God's presence was for thousands of years with the temple. The Jewish people have always had a history of this, and he rejects that. says the Jews should not have this as a spiritual place. This is a Muslim holy site, or at least it could be shared, but even in the sharing, Jews should not be allowed to pray. Let's keep that as status quo. What he's doing by that is giving the Muslims a big win, a big time win. Now, I'll take this farther this was actually on the Palestinian or the Palestinian Media Watch. They discovered this. This was on PATV back in December 12th, 2023. This is a Palestinian commentator that states this. He says the Palestine is Islamic Waqf land. So when he says Palestine, he means Israel. The entire land of Israel is Waqf land. That means religious Arab land. Not just the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock, but rather the entire land of Palestine is Islamic Waqf land. You can see him here saying this right on Open TV. So this is the reality. Hey guys, we'll be right back. But first, Israel's been at war for over 10 months now, which has taken a big toll on the economy. Businesses are struggling and prices are rising. Thankfully, there's a way for people like you around the world to step in and provide strength where it's critically needed. With Blessed by Israel, you have the opportunity to step up and invest in small businesses and in families in Israel by purchasing their wonderful products. When you shop at blessedbyisrael.com, you're getting more than awesome olive oil, tea, honey, cosmetics, and many other great products. You're also sending vital reinforcement to keep Israel strong. So head over to Blessed by Israel, that's blessedbyisrael.com for more information. Enjoy the wonderful products and make your critical investment in the families and small businesses of Israel. Use that INVEST code for $5 off your first order. The Arabs think that this is Palestinian, Islamic, religious Waqf land. Okay, there you go. They got it. This is their view. This is a holy war to them. They're going to take not just the Dome of the Rock, but the entire land of Israel. All right, let's take it a step farther. This video is super eye-opening. This was also on Palestinian TV. This was on a show, Jerusalem in My Heart, September 23rd, 2023. This is, again, an Arab guy here leading this channel. You can watch it, but I'll also translate it here. It says, the jihad of our brothers in Palestine is a mighty jihad for Almighty Allah. Aiding them is a duty for everyone who is able, and supporting them is an obligatory religious duty for all Muslims worldwide. To the nation that numbers 2 billion Muslims, I say to them, wake up! The Al-Aqsa Mosque is in danger. They, meaning the Palestinians, must be more alert to this plot, whose goal is to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque and build their alleged Jewish temple on its ruins. Let them take precautions and take up their weapons, again, talking about the Palestinians, so that this plot will not pass. This issue between us and the Jews is an existential issue and not an issue of borders. Palestine is the possession of all the Muslims, a waqf for all Muslims. The entire Muslim nation must defend Palestine. All right, that's his message that just aired not that long ago. And this indeed is the trap, the Muslim trap that has been set for the West, and the West has fallen deep into that Muslim trap. The trap again is, this is not a spiritual situation. We're dealing with borders and land. We're going to create a peace plan solely focused on borders. That is the trap. They do not recognize that to the Arab, to the Muslim, this means absolutely nothing. It's not about borders. It's about religion. It's about the Temple Mount. Who controls the Temple Mount controls and wins the war, period. You just missed the whole point. If you want to win this war tomorrow, and this is my advice, if you want to win the war tomorrow, and this is solid, this is the way you win, and this is the reason why people like Itamar Ben-Gvir are seen as quacks, but they're the only ones that actually understand this truthfully. You stop fighting spiritually and biblically driven Jews, right? That's who the Western world fights. The people that are living again in Judea and Samaria, the biblical heartland of Israel, people that want to pray on the Temple Mount, those two people are demonized by the West. They're just as bad as Hamas to the West. They're the agitators and the problem makers on the Jewish side, which they've equated as the same. You have agitators on the Jewish side and you have agitators on the Arab side, and these guys are equals in the disruption and the ones that are causing, imbalancing the powers and causing trouble. Now, this is a big, big problem. Again, the West should stop fighting the religious connection to Jews to the land of Israel. That's what's at stake. Stop saying that Jerusalem has nothing to do with Israel, and Tel Aviv suits you just as well. Most nations of the world agree that still have not recognized that Jerusalem's the capital. We have tons of nations out there that don't recognize that. That is the root of the problem in the world. When you separate Jewish people from their spiritual connection, then to the Muslim, you're winning. Disconnect the Jews from their spiritual roots and the reason they're here and the reason why God chose them, then you win. That's a spiritual win, and that's a physical win. They see it together. The West, the other tip would be stop fighting the spiritual Jews, stop trying to disconnect the spiritual Jews from their roots, and stop giving the Muslims the spiritual wins. How do you do that? The spiritual win would be you take the keys to the Temple Mount. The whole Muslim world erupts with victorious, jubilation. We have won. We now hold the keys to spirituality, to the world. We now are the winners because we hold the key to the spiritual root of all, the Temple Mount. When we miss this concept, we really miss the whole peace in the Middle East idea. And we all know the peace in the Middle East comes when the Jewish people, when Jerusalem is made a praise in all the earth. Do you think Jerusalem's going to be made a praise in all the earth under Islamic Waqf? All right, I'll let you think on that. Of course not. Of course not. It's going to be the Jewish people coming back to their land and establishing it again and building it up. Again, who's demonized here? The people that are doing that the finest. It should be a big wake-up call to all of you to understand the root of what's actually happening here. Those that are demonized the most are the ones that are actually pushing forward peace here more than anyone. Those that see that Israel has a deep spiritual connection to the land of Israel, to the Temple Mount. Those are the ones that are actually pushing forward peace here, and the recognition that you cannot have a Muslim Waqf who believes in the destruction of Israel to be in charge of your most holy and sacred pieces and parts of the land of Israel. It must be rejected, and Israel must have total sovereignty, not only on the Temple Mount, but across all of Judea and Samaria. And that is not only a physical win, that's spiritual wins. And that must be recognized by the Western world as the real win. How to win this war is not by borders and fighting. No. They say you can't beat Hamas. Yes, you can beat Hamas. That's a big misunderstanding. You beat them because they're spiritually driven. You defeat the Jews. I'll tell you what you defeat Hamas. You take the keys on the Temple Mount and you say, this is a Jewish place of prayer. You just beat the ideology of Hamas 100%. It disappears. It's gone. You fight it spiritually. In their own words. This is not a spirit. This is exactly what they just said in this whole breakdown of this video. It's not about borders. It's not an issue of borders. They themselves say that it's an issue of borders all the time to the West. But no, indeed, this is totally a misrepresentation, and they're playing it, and the West has fallen deep into the Muslim trap to make it seem like it's about these guys. These people are not being taken care of. The refugees. That's all the trap, and they have captured the West in their trap. One more point on this would be Jerusalem's Western Wall. There's commentators there in the Arab inside when they're speaking Arabic to say things like, "No one has a connection to the Western Wall except for Muslims." Yeah, that's right there. This is a very spiritual, the most prayed at place for every Jew in the world. Do you not understand that the Muslims are taking every spiritual win of the Jews and trying to erase it? That's their goal. If they can erase the spiritual existence and connection of the Jewish people to the land of Israel, they win. Do you understand? It says the Western Wall and the Western Wall Plaza is an exclusive religious right of the Muslims, particularly not these foreign settlers, the Jews, who never had any connection to this land. That is blatant lies that continue in this region massively. This is at the root of the Islamic rejection of Israel as the sovereign here in this land, and that's where we must start to win. Israel must be strengthened spiritually, strengthened to its biblical connection, strengthened to its biblical rights in the land, strengthened to its ability to pray in ancient places where prayer was held. This is how we win. That's all for now, guys. We'll conclude with that. Support the Jewish front. Support this Maccabean front that is rising. Things are changing here. There's new winds blowing here that I expect to grow. They will grow. We know it in the end. The Muslim Walk will not win. The Jewish people will rise. The nation of Israel will come back stronger and greater than ever before. We will see that. And there will be peace in Jerusalem, not under the Muslim Walk, but under the Jewish people and the nation of Israel. Support it. Be a part of it. Strengthen it. And do everything you can to join in that right now. Lastly, as we're closing, one way to do that is, again, Blessed by Israel is a great way to be a part of strengthening the Jewish pioneers, those Maccabeans that are rising up in Israel to strengthen and build up the land of Israel. So don't forget to do that. Go ahead and be a part of Blessed by Israel and all that they're doing to strengthen and support the Jewish people of Judea and Samaria. Again, stop listening to all those lies and that propaganda that continues to permeate the world and connect to the truth of what's actually happening here in Israel.